everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 180 of the Byte, that weekly wrestling podcast, a place where we break down the latest happenings inside of the world of the WWE. And if it wasn't enough that we were going to be talking about Raw, the Rumble, Smackdown Live, we got the Seth Rollins situation. Is it real? Is it not? Is whatever we're going to be talking about in the podcast going to be relevant in 2 days' time? We don't know, but we got to talk about it because it can possibly change the entire spectrum of WrestleMania. But do not forget that the podcast is available every single Wednesday night. We are also on YouTube, ByteThatCast at vid.me/ByteThat. If you want to get yourself a raw, live, uncut, it's not actually live, but Ryan thinks it's live. It is a video version of the podcast, unedited, with a bit of a pre-show. We like to have a little bit of fun for about 5 minutes.
For us, it's live.
Kinda. I mean, it's live for us. While we record it, it is happening. Like, this is happening live, except it's not for those listening.
Is this real life?
I don't know. But you are Keith Poshik from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. We got Ryan McNulty from Boston, Mass. And for those that are interested in my name, I'm the Puerto Rican guy. Juan Vela is from, well, I'm from Puerto Rico. I just said it.
Yeah, I tripped you up by saying I always say live and uncut when it's
man,
raw and uncut. And now
fault.
I got you messing up at the intro. My apologies, sir.
Although what is happening right now is kind of live, because how weird is it that as we are recording this episode, we don't know what's happening with the Seth Rollins thing, because after Raw concluded, Seth Rollins was injured, but then everybody's just sort of thinking, yeah, you know, we're not sure what's going on right now. Is it real? Is it not? But we do want to take some time to thank some awesome, awesome people, because if you want to get that raw, live, not really an uncut version of the podcast on Patreon, we do have some people that have already done that. And in the last week, we got 2 new patrons that we do want to give a shout out. Number 1 is Jacob Alger, and number 2 is True Tech. What is his real name? It's all but a mystery, but all we know is that it is very true. And now going back, how insane is this that you talk about the Rumble, which, Ryan, please be honest in this podcast as we talk about this. We need your honest opinion here.
I can't be lying. You
apparently. Can never lie. You got to be...
Jeez, don't be happy for the sake of being happy, Ryan. Oh,
for those who don't know...
It's my favorite joke. It's an ongoing joke.
A bit of a spoiler here. Ryan was very satisfied. You know, because why you talk about the Rumble when I can talk for you about what you think about the Rumble? Ryan gave the Rumble the entire pay-per-view a 4 out of 4. And you got some negative feedback.
Unprecedented 4 out of 4.
Yeah. So how surprised were you when you woke up on Monday morning thinking, hey, you know, I was very honest about that. I know that the wrestling community is very wishy-washy, right? Like, you know, it's very easy to hate on something, but when people like it, it's very easy to crap on those people because they enjoy it. But you legitimately enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed the Rumble. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, number 30, we're going to get to that, but how did you feel about that?
Well, apparently I found out that it's not being negative that gets people mad at you. It's being way too positive. I stand by giving the Royal Rumble a 4 out of 4. You know, like I said, we'll talk about the whole number 30 thing, but I don't think that did enough to detract from the show. I thought it was still a very, very solid show. We had 2 awesome title matches. There wasn't a single bad match on the card. So that's why I thought it did deserve a 4 out of 4. And really, that was my heater, by the way. Sorry about that. It's cold in New England.
Dude,
I forgot it's
on after the show.
Okay, let's be real here.
That's for Byte That After Dark.
I have it on. I had it on the energy saver mode, right? So
so it lasts longer.
So
you can build for endurance, is what you're saying.
Come on,
okay, so it shuts off. I forget that it's still on. Forgive me. Let me continue. I gave the show a 4 out of 4. We got our out of 4 rating scale, which means that there's less room for how I can rate something. If it was a 1...
It's almost like it's a crappy rating scale.
Yeah, but we got to stick to it, man. It's our gimmick.
We got to blame Twitter.
So, yeah.
Sure.
Twitter forced this upon us, and there's no way we could ever change it. We're stuck in this. It's the cycle of life. So if it was 1 to 5 rating scale, I probably would have gave it a 4 out of 5. But 1 to 4, 3 out of 4 just didn't feel right, so I had to give it a 4 out of 4.
No, and in all honesty, I agree with your assessment on the Royal Rumble. It was a really good pay-per-view. There wasn't a bad match on the card. And I mean, whether you like how the Rumble played out and who ended up showing up and who didn't, that doesn't detract from how good that Rumble match was. I still think that it is one of the best Rumble matches in a very long time. The more I watched it, I realized that a good Rumble is a showcase of a bunch of different superstars and really just like the pace car for the rest of the year. And the Rumble was very successful in that. The people that needed to have a good performance in the Rumble had that performance, and it was a good match because of it. And if people are out there because one entrant ruined the whole thing for them, I can't go down that road because I don't agree with it at all.
The one thing that really did surprise me is that we talk about building new stars in the new era, yet a lot of the complaints was, where are the WWE legends? Where are the classic people coming back for this one shot? Yet when you look at the Rumble, one thing I did really appreciate throughout is that they did a good job, for example, like a Baron Corbin, right? How they did this whole combination to get rid of Braun Strowman, and then he looked like $1 million. Every single guy, you got, the golf cart. I don't know if you guys saw those pictures on social media. Did you guys know about that?
Yeah, certain people got like driven down the ramp.
Yeah, basically because
it was
the ramp
ridiculously long.
It was so long, so people like Big E, Bray Wyatt, Big Show, and all that, they actually got on a golf cart from the ramp to the ring.
I didn't know that.
So it's hilarious. There's a picture of Bray Wyatt with the lamp, just all serious, being carried on a golf cart, because that's what Bray Wyatt does. But I really enjoyed it. Now, the one huge nitpick that I'll give for the Rumble, like the Rumble match, is that at some point you realize that they threw out the whole uncertainty aspect of it out the window because they wanted to get Goldberg, Lesnar, and The Undertaker at the end. They were very clear about that. And at that point, that's what I think made things not fun. I think that if they got Lesnar or somebody else like a Goldberg earlier in the match, then people wouldn't be so disappointed with number 30. Now, it's still Roman Reigns. That's still a huge problem because he was just in a match, right? Like, you didn't see other people that were in title matches. Like, you didn't see AJ, for example.
Well, Cesaro and Sheamus did show up. But typically,
it's tag team.
Yeah. Typically, though, if you're in a championship match, like a world title match, you won't show up in the Rumble. So I do see, like, this was a very polarizing Rumble match. People either really liked it or really didn't like it. And I did like it for the most part. Sure, I have similar nitpicks. It does seem a little suspicious that, Undertaker, Goldberg, Lesnar all got to be at the very end of the Rumble. It's like, not only are these guys like part-time guys who aren't doing matches year round, but oh man, they all get like premium spots in the Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, what is this bullshit?
They don't get paid by the mile.
I agree. If you'd mixed in somebody a little bit earlier, it would have been pretty good. And it looks like, based on how these guys work, that Brock Lesnar is probably the only guy who could have handled coming out earlier in the Rumble, because Taker was struggling pretty hard there.
The smartest booking decision of the year was the fact that The Undertaker just appeared in the ring.
Yeah, seriously. Even the golf cart would have been like not enough for Taker there. It was a good decision.
When you mess with my golf cart, you will rest in peace.
I've got 29 holes in one for 29 souls in
perfect. Full circle. Full circle.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might as well just talk about Reigns at 30.
Well,
right?
no, but before you go there, I just wanted to say that, yes, I agree with your assessment on that, but I do think that those big guys like Lesnar, Goldberg, and Undertaker were paced far enough apart that everybody still had a good performance in it. Like, yes, it was at the end of the match, and yes, that was a little convenient, but Brock still came in, cleaned house. Brock looked strong. Then Goldberg came in. There was enough of a house rebuilt for Goldberg to come in and clean house. Did the whole eliminating Brock thing, set up WrestleMania, whatever. And then they left, The Undertaker had his little thing, and everybody ended up looking good. And that's really one of the best things you can say about the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, people complain that like people like Ambrose and Miz kind of got unceremoniously dumped out in the Rumble. But if you look at it,
it's been worse though. Literally just unceremoniously dumped out of the Rumble.
The star power in this Rumble was a lot higher than normal.
Way higher.
That basically there wasn't those scrubs for the for Taker and Goldberg to eliminate. Really, anyone you were eliminating was a big deal. So eventually, certain eliminations are just going to feel like that. Could they have done a better job with some of them? Definitely. But there was just not a lot of room. Like, people had to go out eventually, and that's just the way that it was.
Yeah, and eventually we got the conclusion that we did. And I guess to sort of talk about Reigns, we got to get to the Seth Rollins and all that. So the following conversations are scheduled for really quick reactions almost here. We got the 2 championship matches, and I'd like to get your feedback primarily, Keith, because, Ryan, you do have much more details on your full review. But how did you feel about the Reigns-Kevin Owens match? I thought it was an excellent match. I love that multi-chair spot that they did have.
Oh, yeah. It was a great Roman Reigns match. It's weird to say this, like in the way that the both title matches were. The Universal Championship match was a great match for Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, and then the AJ Styles John Cena match was a completely different thing, but a great match and perfect for AJ Styles versus John Cena. They just played to very different styles, and I think they were both respectively good at doing that. And I thought they were both great, with AJ Styles John Cena being just a little bit ahead of it, but not by much.
Yeah, I mean, both were excellent matches. It's not, with 2 title matches, I think they did the right thing of having AJ and Cena be the one to go on last before the Rumble. Both were paced very well. We got to see a lot of cool spots in the Reigns Kevin Owens match, with that Tower of Doom of chairs. Which, funny enough, on Talk Is Jericho,
right,
this latest episode is basically a live special in Toronto with Owens and Jericho talking in front of a crowd. But this happened back at Survivor Series weekend, and basically Kevin Owens is talking about how, I've got this Tower of Chairs spot that I did in the Indies that I haven't really broke out in WWE yet, and the week that they actually air it, he does it at the Royal Rumble, so it was cool to see that. And he was also joking about how it usually backfires on him, which it happened again. But yeah, great match. And then I really liked this AJ Styles Cena match because it did. Some people disagree with me, but I do feel that it felt different than the other matches that they had. Other people thought the Styles Cena matches felt a little too much like the Owens and Cena matches. I think they definitely went for something different on this one. There was more emphasis on submissions, and sure, there was a billion finisher kickouts, but you're pretty much left with, that's the only thing you can do to really make matches dramatic today in WWE, because so much has already been done.
And even then, I'll say that one thing I really appreciated about that match is that it wasn't just Styles Clash after Styles Clash or AA after AA. They found different moves and different variations of the moves to kick out from. Like when you think about John Cena versus Sami Zayn, like that match on Raw, Sami just kept kicking out and all that, but they were just the moves Cena was just trying to do over and over in the match. But here they figured out a way to build it up more and more, because when he did the Super AA, I totally thought it was over. Now, yeah, AJ still lost in the match, but I loved how, okay, that wasn't enough. Well, let's give him 2 more right now. I got to end this match right now. And you make AJ look strong.
He took 3 AAs in a matter of 2 minutes. So if you're going to go out and lose the title, that's a pretty good way to lose it.
Exactly. So I really didn't have a problem at all. And now we do have Elimination Chamber that we're going to get to, because all 6 participants have been confirmed. So we'll be getting to that conversation. But before that, we must talk about what happened. Do you guys want to get to the overall Raw and SmackDown Live impressions, or should we get to the Rollins thing? Because that alone basically changes everything that was going to be talked about on this episode.
Let's get overall impressions out of the way first, because that's the big one.
All right, so as we do every single week, we do have the polls on Twitter, Byte That Cast. You guys vote, and we percent. So for Raw, we saw that it was a very good poll. I felt really happy about this. People were very disappointed in the Rumble, But on the poll, 50% gave it 3 out of 4, saying it was pretty good. Only 9% amazing.
It's going to be one of the highest rated Raws we've ever had.
Yeah, in a very long time. That's since like brand split Raw. We haven't gotten something like that.
Yeah, since Balor has been around, because I think one Raw did get a 4 out of 4 back then.
And now when you look at SmackDown Live, it also got a 3 out of 4, but that one got a much higher percentage at 61. So even though SmackDown still did better, I think that overall we got a very, very solid week for WWE. And of course, I do think that this rating for Raw is heavily influenced by how it concluded, because everybody wanted number 30 to be your Finn Balor, Nakamura, or Joe. And lo and behold, it was Joe that showed up at the conclusion of Raw, took down Seth Rollins. And now we have no idea what the hell is going to happen, because apparently Seth Rollins re-injured his knee, of which there is a WWE 24 documentary about that. So do they just need to like update that documentary if this goes wrong and he does need to be out till after Mania? I'm not sure. But what do you guys think about the initial impression? Samoa Joe is the destroyer for Triple H. Triple H teased it during NXT. You know, there was this whole thing in TakeOver, which we didn't even mention. Seth Rollins came out. So this has been like a whole weekend dedicated to Seth Rollins. And unfortunately, we have the situation that we have. What do you think about Samoa Joe's Raw debut? Sans the injury part.
It's pretty awesome to see Joe show up. It's unfortunate with the circumstances. We don't really know what the heck's going to happen. But yeah, I thought this was a good week for WWE. Raw did drag at parts, but I think the fact that Joe showed up was kind of a makeup for it. And also finally getting the Triple H promo we've been wanting for like 6 months. And it's like, we finally get all this. And now Roman Reigns. Aww. I mean, not Roman. Why am I saying Roman Reigns?
Wait, Roman Reigns.
We finally get all this.
Everything.
Sorry, Roman Reigns always gets all the hate. So we finally get the answers from Triple H. And Seth Rollins gets hurt. But, I mean, it was an amazing promo. It was an amazing segment. Like, Triple H comes out and he reminds you what a real wrestling promo is. Like,
yep, that is exactly right.
It's just phenomenal, and like you're bought in and you're ready for these two guys to finally confront each other. Joe shows up and just beats the hell out of him. So like the way that they ended this Raw was so exciting that you forget if there was any crappy part about Raw. So I would definitely give the edge to Raw this week, even though like start to finish, SmackDown was probably a better show.
I agree. The end of Raw more than made up for the rest of Raw, because up to that point, Raw was all right with a couple of high points, but the ending of the show, the last segment, was just so fantastic that it made you forget about all the low points. And I'm happy it played out the way it did. In hindsight, I can say that I'm happier that Joe debuted on Raw than I would have been if he was in the Rumble. Because minus the whole getting hurt thing, this creates this is way more interesting than just showing up in the Rumble. It creates this whole thing of, oh, we're going to get maybe Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins, and then maybe that'll lead to Triple H, and just like completely out of nowhere, because at that point, some of us had written off, like, okay, I guess Joe's coming later. Then all of a sudden, boom, here comes the Destroyer, and boy, did the Destroyer come and destroy at the end of that show.
Basically, and, Joe was never going to win the Royal Rumble. I was pretty confident about that. So why have him lose? Why not just have him show up the next night on Raw instead and look stronger?
You know, I was watching the Rumble with somebody that's been in the local wrestling business for a long time, and he made a very good point to me where he said that more and more, because of the network, pay-per-view buys don't really matter anymore. That's not the number that anybody thinks about all that much. So all these big moments you're going to start seeing happening more and more on Raw, and because that's the number that everybody obsesses over. Nobody cares if a Rumble got 125,000 buys or views, because that's all going to the network, right? Everybody looks at, oh, Raw did a 4.2 or Raw did a 3.1. So that's where you're going to see more of the big moments. And that after seeing Raw, I can see what he was getting at there.
And realistically, if any of these guys, Nakamura, like it doesn't have to be Joe, if they were in the Rumble already had a ton of stories between Brock, Lesnar, all of them. So at least now on Raw, Samoa Joe is not just in the main roster, but he's part of it. You look at a guy like Ty Dillinger, he was a surprise entrant to number 10, but then what? He got eliminated. Where is he? Where was he this week? Nowhere. That would have been the ultimate thing for anybody else, because that was not the story that was going to be told. Everybody was going to be disappointed. They were going to complain even more. Honestly, for me, and somebody on social media wrote this, if anything, I was happier once I realized that Roman Reigns was number 30, because then it's like, okay, at least it was Reigns getting eliminated, not Samoa Joe.
Exactly. And it's so interesting that we call them surprise entrants. I think we really need to change that up, because if we've been saying for weeks that, oh, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, all these people are going to show up, is that really a surprise entrant? And then you look at Roman Reigns, the person that nobody expected to show up. Is that the real surprise entrant? Because that's probably the biggest surprise they could have possibly done.
Yeah, they actually gave us a much better surprise, and that's the thing is,
better is relative, but yeah,
better, yeah, a much more impactful surprise.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's the thing is, well, no, I was saying the better surprise of Joe showing up on Raw the next night, like that is a better surprise than him being number 30. That's what I meant, just to clarify. But what I was going to say is, yeah, the thing about wrestling fans is we complain it's too predictable, right? Then we come up with our own, like, theories as to what's going to happen. And if they don't live up to our theories, we get mad at them. It's like, you know, isn't that so ridiculous when you actually say it out loud? Yeah, one thing I do want to say about Roman at 30, right, is, okay, it was a big letdown for everybody. There was even that hilarious compilation of people reacting to it, which was, man. Yeah, that was awesome. But like one thing that did was, man, did that bring up the intensity of that match? Because all of a sudden, I'm like, I swear to God, if Roman Reigns wins this, I am going to flip. Yeah, like, so everyone's basically on the edge of their seat now, like, if Roman, like, everyone's ready to riot if Reigns wins this, right? So it made you actually way more excited for Randy Orton winning. So they did a good job there, even though it was total BS that it's like he gets a title match that night. The Authority's supposed to not even like Roman Reigns, yet he gets a title match, and the fact he loses, he gets the best spot in the entire Rumble. I just want some clarification of this favoritism going on here. Maybe Mick Foley's pulling something behind the scenes.
How long did it take for the Seth Rollins Triple H thing? How long?
Too long.
So, Ryan, you're going to get this clarification in about 6 to 7 months. Deal with it.
Enjoy it at Survivor Series.
I should be so lucky to ever get clarification on anything in WWE.
Indeed. But this does put the perspective, you know, we always say we're on the road to WrestleMania, and we kind of are, because Randy Orton was the Royal Rumble winner. But first, let's get to what's happening on Raw. Where do you guys see the situation where ultimately Seth Rollins, I guess, was going to be battling Triple H, but now there's this other conversation that is so scary, but I got to put it in here. I mean, who's Seth Rollins' storyline best friend? Roman Reigns. You know?
They would not do Reigns Triple H again, would they?
Oh, no, that's not where I'm going. That's not where I'm going. He's got to take down the guy that injured Rollins. So, Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe versus a Samoan named Joe. It writes itself. But I don't know. I think they could have a good match. They could have a physical match. Is it the match I want to see of the two? No. But I almost feel like if we really go too deep into it, we're jumping the gun, because we don't know the extent of Seth's injury now.
We just know that he hurt the same knee that it was an ACL tear. Most of the time you hear that if it is people can find out an ACL tear pretty quickly, but, you know, obviously we don't want to say anything. We hope that the fact that they still don't know what it is means it's not a tear, and that there's a chance. It seems like there is much more of a chance that he can still show up at Mania than there was last time, where they knew pretty quickly he's going to be out for quite a while. So the fact that we still don't know right now is somewhat of a good sign that there's hope that Rollins can continue this feud. The way we think things were going to play out, I can assume, is that Fastlane, we were going to see Rollins versus Joe, which would have then leaded into WrestleMania with Triple H versus Rollins. There was a chance that it could have been Rollins versus Joe at Mania, with Triple H just kind of having Joe as his guy. We don't really know how things are going to go, but now it looks like that's all up in the air.
But even removing that, the three of us predicted that Roman Reigns was going to win the title at the Rumble. Yet that was not the case. And then the other side was okay, so Kevin Owens wins, then they're already going to be teasing this thing with Chris Jericho, so then it's going to be Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens on the road to WrestleMania. But I honestly have no idea what the next thing is going to be. Not just because Seth Rollins is maybe injured, right? Like it can miss a show or something. I'm just so surprised that this is happening. I like it because I'm a fan of Kevin Owens. I've said, many times that I am not a fan of them just having him be a champion, but not being the main centerpiece of Raw. But where do you guys see Kevin Owens on the road to WrestleMania? We do have the chamber for the Smackdown show, but what's the pit stop? What is the thing in between that gets us hyped for WrestleMania? Is it Braun Strowman? Is it...
I honestly have no idea.
So you're saying, like, what's going to happen at Fastlane?
Exactly, because the whole thing was that Braun Strowman wanted a championship match, and we got what we got on Raw, but I just have no idea. Unless they just turn on Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, I'm almost thinking that they're going to keep this going. That they're not going to do Jericho Owens.
Here's what I see happening. So Fastlane, the direction it looks like we're going for is that Jericho is going to feud with Sami Zayn for the U.S. title. Roman Reigns looks like he's feuding with Braun Strowman. I don't know if that's going to carry over to Mania, but so I'm honestly thinking the fact that Kevin Owens still has the title, that maybe something happens where Kevin Owens accidentally screws Chris Jericho out of the U.S. title and Sami Zayn wins it, and then we do eventually move to Owens versus Jericho at WrestleMania, Jericho most likely being the babyface, and it's going to be for the Universal title. And then maybe we have Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, because we were already hearing kind of rumblings of that. Or Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker is another thing people have been saying.
I can only hope and pray. Really?
The big dog has to take the yard from The Undertaker.
I hate to get...
The part of my brain that wants to watch the world burn wants to see that match so bad.
Because they were having that confrontation in the Royal Rumble, and Roman Reigns eliminated The Undertaker.
And he looked like he wanted to kill The Undertaker. The look he gave Taker is like, dude, you are not messing with me. And, okay, here's the thing. If they finally go... And I hate having this conversation because how many times have we said it? If they finally go with the heel turn, which I don't see any other way, then fine. But until we know what's going to happen with Seth Rollins, I think that that's not going to happen. I think that if Rollins is around, then we can maybe get that. And then, yeah, like demolish. Like if Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker happens at WrestleMania, they can't have a 50-50 match. They can't have a back and forth match. Roman Reigns needs to destroy The Undertaker badly. Like, we will not see The Undertaker in a year. We already get that with a normal match. Like, just solidified ownage happening at WrestleMania. People cry, but man, that is how you get people invested into the new version of Roman Reigns. But let's take a break from the Raw talk because it's all speculation. Next week, we're going to get a much clearer direction of what's going to be happening. But we do have the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match that was confirmed. So we knew about the match, but not the entrance. You know, we talked about guys like The Miz possibly getting into it, and he is. So I'm really, really happy that he's going to be there. What do you guys think about the entrants that are going to be in the match so far? We have Baron Corbin, Dean Ambrose, of course, John Cena as the 16-time champion, AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, and The Miz. Is this Bray Wyatt's chance? Is it the time where he gets that and we get Wyatt versus Randy?
As far as the entrants go, I mean, if you were to make a Elimination Chamber match for the SmackDown roster, that is exactly who you would put in that match. So it's not very surprising, but I do think that is the best possible match that SmackDown could make. And I don't think it's Bray Wyatt's time right now. It's weird to say, but it's probably going to be Orton versus Cena at WrestleMania.
So weird, man. It is insane.
You can't possibly believe that they would do that.
Why not?
Why would they ever do that?
Wait.
It's not...
Keith, sorry to cut you off, Ryan. Just talk to us. I am legitimately curious about this.
I'm not saying that like this is the best option. This is what I want to see the most. But when you talk about WrestleMania big matches, right? You have John Cena versus Randy Orton. You're walking into a situation where John Cena is probably going to be going away more often than not going forward after this title reign, right? So if you're going to pick almost like a final boss for John Cena, why wouldn't it be Randy Orton?
Do you want to see that match?
Because that's basically their career. I've seen that match. I've seen it 100 times, but that's what you kind of get at WrestleMania.
Do you want
don't
to see
right?
that match?
No, but that doesn't mean, just because I don't want to see it doesn't mean like, oh, that's the worst possible outcome that they could do.
See, that is one matchup that I will actually give credit to WWE for, that I believe they understand everyone's fatigue on that matchup and that they try to avoid it as much as they can. So I honestly do not believe that that is the direction they're going. I really don't believe that they would do John Cena versus Randy Orton unless there was a very significant thing like either one of them retiring.
Sorry to cut you off here, but is that better than, oh, let's give Bray Wyatt the title for a month and then have Randy Orton beat him for it?
It's not better. I would much rather see Bray Wyatt versus Orton for the title.
Well, it's baby steps, but
then
Randy and Cena,
it's a story they've been telling all year.
Let's not forget. They are scheduled to fight each other next week on SmackDown Live. Like, not for the championship, but we are getting Cena versus Randy. So does that give you an indication then that they're not going to do that match and they're just blowing this off? I think it's going to be the traditional, disqualification.
Sounds like to me they're going to be a DQ. Sounds like something to slowly build a video package.
No, I feel like with a WrestleMania matchup, they're not going to just give it away on free TV 2 months before they're going to do the real match. It definitely seems like, okay, if they don't go Orton Wyatt, Orton Styles seems like another good route to go.
I would not mind that.
It seems weird that they would take the title off of Cena. Take the title off of Styles and put it on Cena just to put it back on AJ Styles. They might be just pulling a Charlotte Flair, just trying to rack up the numbers on the championships for Cena, so that they can, SummerSlam they could do the breaking the record or whatever. But it seems to me they've been telling this Bray Wyatt Randy Orton storyline, since the brand split basically happened, and it would be a fitting way. It's okay. They started out as enemies. Grouped together, became a new Wyatt family. Then there's some tension after Bray wins the title and Orton knows he's going to face him. They have this big falling out, and then that leads to WrestleMania. It's like it's what we always wanted, right? A story told, a long-term story told over the course of almost an entire year. Let's finally get one of those.
That's what I would love, because when you look back at last year's WrestleMania, what was the complaint? It wasn't that it was good matches or bad matches, is that it felt irrelevant. It felt like no story really concluded, or we didn't get something that we could have just an arc, like a timeline, and you can see like, yeah, man, it happened.
Like the culminate. Yeah, that's what WrestleMania used to be about, the culmination of feuds that were taking place over the entire year. And now it looks like we might actually get two of those for the championship match. If we get the Owens and Jericho story and the Wyatt and Orton story, they are very similar stories in a way. One with a bit of a lighter tune than the other one.
By that, is it safe to assume that the championship matches would not close out WrestleMania?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Because Cena and Orton closes out a WrestleMania. Orton and Wyatt does not.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
That being said, that's what I would love to see. Like, I know it wouldn't close out the show.
Just imagine that crowd, though, with that closing out Mania. They would not be a very favorable crowd.
This is almost like a counter argument to what you said before. As wrestling fans, we build ourselves up. Here we are with the ideas that we actually want to see. We're going to be in that crowd, and we are basically telling ourselves, hey, that shouldn't happen, even though that is the scenario for me. I would love to see that.
I'm not telling you exactly what I want to see. I'm telling you where I think they're going.
And the part of my brain, I guess that's like, as I've been thinking about it, the part of my brain that's really like rationalized this as, okay, this is a scenario where, think back to WrestleMania 30 and the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt storyline. They were kind of teasing that a little bit on Smackdown this week. And this is a scenario with Randy Orton at the helm where Bray Wyatt can almost come out ahead, where he can tell this story about like, oh, I'm going to make your hero fall, kids. And the hero can actually fall. And that's a much more interesting story to me than it is just Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt just going head to head. Because that's something that can happen afterwards. And honestly, that's probably something like a Backlash main event. That might sound a little harsh, but that's probably that caliber. I just don't think that's as... It sounds so weird to say, but I don't think that's as interesting of a story as John Cena versus Randy Orton could potentially be.
What's left to tell with that story, really? Like I said, I wouldn't...
From a John Cena versus Randy Orton side, yes, totally. But because there's the Bray Wyatt in the mix, because there's those whole... One of the best things they've done in many of years was the beginning of that John Cena Bray Wyatt storyline. If they're going for a round 2 on that, I am all in on that.
All right, well, let me tell you this. Whether or not, regardless of what you want, what do you think will actually be the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania?
John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. I'm still going to go with Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton as the match that I want to see. Because the closing thing that I want to see is that it sucks that I completely get your argument, Keith, and I don't have a counter argument. I can't tell you that Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton is going to sell more tickets than John Cena versus Randy Orton, because you don't need to tell a story. The story between Randy Orton and John Cena is that there doesn't need to be a story. I think that with Bray Wyatt and Randy on the lesser show from a rating standpoint is super difficult to tell. But at some point, you got to take that risk. And the problem is that every year that they've been doing that, like, let's not forget, where was Edge's last championship match? Where was it in the WrestleMania card? It was the opening match. It was the first match on that WrestleMania. So the problem is, like, at some point, you got to take the freaking risk of just put it later, because otherwise, you're never going to get over that. If the whole argument is that we got to build new stars, to then just say, hey, we have a star, we're just going to like put him here because we're afraid that this is going to bomb. As opposed to what? If you make it a good match, look at AJ. They took the risk with AJ, who isn't even in WWE, for crying out loud. And the guy's one of the top dogs. You have Bray Wyatt since day one. Since day one, he's had this problem where he's feuding with this guy, then loses. He's feuding with this guy, loses. You finally have a shot for Bray Wyatt to somehow either remain or win the championship at WrestleMania. You can figure out some shenanigans, and then you put it at the bottom instead of having it be one of the last 3 matches at least. I know it won't close out the show. That's not my argument. But make Bray Wyatt a big freaking deal. Do it, please.
I'm with you, man. And really, like what I was saying about John Cena and Randy Orton is there's no story to tell there until one of them is retiring. If they want to do the retirement match at WrestleMania...
I disagree so much.
Oh my God. Do you actually want to see that match?
You said no earlier.
There's a difference.
Said no.
There's a difference between the match and the story. We can establish this, right? The match is what it is. It's John Cena versus Randy Orton. We've seen it 100 times, whatever. But the story leading up to it is just so much better if it's John Cena versus Randy Orton, because you have the Bray Wyatt aspect of it.
Everything that the new SmackDown Live's philosophy, the land of opportunity, Main event at WrestleMania, John Cena versus Randy Orton. Bray
But
Wyatt
you've got this scenario here. You've got this scenario.
Exactly
if John Cena loses, you have Bray Wyatt looking good as well. Everything that you're talking about, you still get if Randy Orton wins that match. Because by proxy, the Wyatt family wins, which means Bray Wyatt wins as well.
Boo.
You build two people.
I respect your argument. I completely respect your argument. But the fact that you said you don't want to see the matches, it's weird. I get it. Once again, I completely get it. And from a mainstream WWE standpoint, it makes perfect sense. You know, you have the big deal. If you have a wrestling fan that tuned out at 2006, you can get them to watch WrestleMania just by telling them.
I would pay more to see James Ellsworth versus John Cena at WrestleMania.
Oh, now you're insane. Now I'm with Keith.
Fuck off. I don't swear much here, but you can fuck right off with that.
Because you know what? I haven't seen that match before. So it's more interesting to me.
Okay, we gotta... I'm getting shades of breakout star of the year right here. We didn't talk about this, and I'm not sure if this is the emotional time to bring it up, but it does seem like we are getting Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania. Like the whole argument we said last week.
Yeah, well, once they point to the sign and announce it, that's GG. It's happening.
Yep.
And like, if you guys want to hear our conversation as to like how this is totally not going to be it, then listen to last week's podcast. And apparently we were way off because we are getting the one match that we said, there's no way they're going to do this. It's not going to be a good match. They already did the thing.
Speak for yourselves. I said yesterday, or last week, of course they're going to. It's a big money match. It's a WrestleMania match.
Keith is part of the WWE machine, man. You bought in. You bought in, man.
You know what? It's nice over here.
Keith is a WWE shill. Confirmed.
You know what was great this week? On the WWE Network for only $9.99, WWE 24, where they talked about WrestleMania. Everybody should watch it. It almost brought a tear to my freaking eye.
I do need to see that. I
need to see it as well.
Great content that our overlords give us.
It must be
Drink
good.
it in.
If it brings a tear to the cold black heart of Keith Poshik, then it must be pretty damn good. Yeah, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg... It really, the only thing that really upsets me about it is that basically Goldberg was here just to feud with one guy who he just feuded, not just feuded with, but it was the last guy he feuded with when he was in WWE. We get no new matchups. We just get a couple of stare downs at the Royal Rumble. Because we assume that this is the last run of Goldberg. He could come back. He could come back for other matchups. I mean, once you kind of get into the WWE, it's hard to get out, right? So maybe we'll get more. But I'm just putting this all on the fact that I think this is the last run for Goldberg. So if really all they're going to do is conclude the Brock Lesnar Goldberg storyline, that's a big upset when you have so many other people he could have feuded with.
Yeah, it's a really sad thing.
It's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a big moment. It's not going to be a good match. It's going to be a big moment.
Will that end the show?
Oh my God.
If John Cena, if we're living in your world that John Cena is not champion, then yes, that absolutely closes. It's either that closes the show or the Undertaker getting obliterated closes the show.
Or Triple H's match concludes WrestleMania.
I don't like any of these options closing out WrestleMania. But like the earlier
John
argument,
Cena versus Randy Orton is the best option.
Damn it, Keith.
It won't happen. All right, I am confirming this. This is a spoiler. John Cena versus Randy Orton will not happen at this year's WrestleMania.
There we go, folks. Okay. It was said. We got our own Dave Meltzer.
All right, there you go.
I'm wrong.
Dave Meltzer, Ryan Meltzer has confirmed.
I will just point out that Ryan at one point in Byte That YouTube history did point out that AJ Lee was pregnant. Take that for what you will. And that Renee Young was leaving WWE. So
I did not say that was first of all, I hate you. Second of all, I never said either of those were confirmed, okay?
Fine, close enough.
And I just said that ESPN was interested in Renee Young.
I can't tell you guys something that is confirmed. do you guys want me to do this? This is actually a spoiler right now. This Saturday.
Okay.
Do it.
I got to do this, and I need to get my promo class game on. This Saturday, folks. It is time. We got ourselves the Byte That 12-hour wrestling video game marathon happening over at twitch.tv/Byte That. Yeah. Yeah, we're playing games for 12 hours on Twitch. It's been happening. We've been talking about it for weeks, and it is finally happening. We're super excited. We do have a couple of the games, not all of them. We're going to be having 4 hours apiece. So I'm going to be kicking things off at 12 p.m. noon Eastern time. Then it's going to be Mr. McNulty, and then we close it out with the Byte That Darth Maul, which is Keith Poshik.
Really, Maul?
Darth
All
Maul.
the Darths you had.
No, the Darth, like not Maul like the Star Wars one. You're like the Darth Maul, like just like a mall.
A shopping
Oh,
mall.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Shopping
Like
mall.
I'm a center
So
for shopping.
You're gonna have a really cool lightsaber, but you're not gonna say anything, and you're gonna get cut in half, fall down a pit, and then you're gonna turn into a spider at some point. Apparently,
Live hard, die young.
Apparently. It's true. I did get my legs back eventually, though. Clone Wars, hell of a cartoon. So I have a question for you guys
for
here. I'm reading the Byte That Observer here. I have it open in a tab, and I'm noticing that someone named Ryan Meltzer is reporting that you may get to see us record a YouTube video live this Saturday at some point during the 12-hour stream. Can we confirm this? Is this a rumor or?
Well, if Ryan
Meltzer,
reported it.
Ryan Meltzer can confirm that this will be happening on the stream, twitch.tv/Byte That.
Yeah, like it is actually going to be happening because the Elimination Chamber is right around the corner. At some point, we will be recording a play that of the Elimination Chamber match. So we're going to basically simulate it in WWE 2K16. We don't have 2K17, but we do have the game that came out the year before. And that's pretty damn close. So we'll just download AJ Styles and call it a day. So we're going to be doing that as well as playing some games, including Smackdown versus Raw 2006, WWE 2K16, and WWE Day of Reckoning 2 are some of the games that I'm looking forward to playing. And I may be doing some WCW NWO Thunder, like just a little bit, because that game is freaking awful. Just awful.
I'm making you play WCW versus the world.
Many people have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then Ryan, he's got the main event. Man, like you and I, Keith, we got the short end of the stick. Ryan's got all the good stuff. So he's going to be playing WWE 2K14. For those that love Fight Night, you may get to see some Fight Night faces in that. Here Comes the Pain and All Stars. So 3 games that we love.
Oh, so good.
And then Keith.
I'm pretty excited. Get some awesome games to play. Like I said, I still got some Fight Night characters hanging around on my game,
Yeah.
so I'll have to bust them out. And hey, maybe I'll finally continue that Steven Richards storyline on Here Comes the Pain.
Oh my God.
Yes. It's been like 2 years. So Keith, like, what are some of the things you're planning on playing or thinking about?
I'm thinking that I'm going to bust open some No Mercy for a little bit and check that out. I always talk about how great the story mode is, so I'll probably play through a couple of the stories in there. I'm going to play some Def Jam Vendetta because, God, that game is so good. I need all of the Def Jam I can in my life. If I do the proper prep work, I might throw in Saints Row the Third for a bit and show off why it is the greatest wrestling video game of the last generation. And then I'll just kind of see where it goes. I've got the late shift. Things are going to get crazy. Things are going to get wild.
Yeah, Keith really needs the support because you got the short end of the stick in terms of scheduling. But real talk, we're really looking forward to this because actually on this weekend on the Byte That Facebook, I did a live stream and it was super cool. We got a couple of people hanging out, just like a Q&A session. Here's basically 12 hours where you guys can just talk with us. We can talk with you directly. So once again, that is twitch.tv/Byte That. We'll definitely put a YouTube video out to let you know as soon as we're live, as well as across all social media, which is where you can also send in your questions for the show. Byte That Cast on Twitter using the hashtag AskBT. If you want to send a longer question or basically let us know where you're from, your name, ASL, what is your favorite food, bytethatcast@gmail.com is where you can send that. So Keith, Do we have
Yes.
questions? Do we have them?
We sure do.
Will we answer them?
Including our first one. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Good.
And our first question comes from the True Prince of Pro, who asks, Braun Strowman has a ton of potential, but I've been thinking about other guys that also had a lot of potential, like Vladimir Kozlov. So if you guys had to guess, which superstar will Braun Strowman's career most parallel in 5 years? Will it be more along the lines of Kane or someone like Vladimir Kozlov? Man, poor freaking Kozlov.
I was going to say, do you really want to be mirroring Vladimir Kozlov? All right, well, of the two options, I do hope that it's closer to mirroring Kane. Although I hope he potentially exceeds Kane, because Kane, he had that sort of run at the top, and then he kind of always stayed in that like upper main event to mid card and always bounced around. They'd always give him a courtesy title shot now and then, but never really putting the true spotlight on him. I mean, he got the World Heavyweight Championship eventually, finally. So I hope that Strowman can get even, higher than that as far as, being a main event big guy. I'd like to see that happen. I think he's got all the tools to make that happen. It's just how long before WWE screws it up, right? They're doing a very good job of protecting Strowman. But what always happens with big guys, they always eventually get that comedy gimmick that screws them up.
Even Ryback.
They will always do something
Ryback was off
to kind of take away that intimidating aura, and then it's very difficult to ever get that back. So it's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when they do that, how much that will damage Strowman. I hope it doesn't ever happen, and if they do, that they're smart about it. But yeah, hopefully he has more of a Kane career than a Kozlov one.
True Prince of Pro actually brings up a really good comparison here with Vladimir Kozlov, because Kozlov was this Braun Strowman-like monster up until he ran up against Triple H, and then it just never felt the same. And Strowman hasn't hit his Triple H yet. Could that be Roman Reigns? At this point,
Yes.
we don't know. But
As Rusev ran into Cena?
exactly. Just Strowman hasn't hit that wall yet, but I hope that they finally figured out that formula that makes it so a big guy has momentum after he gets that one big loss, because Strowman hasn't gotten that yet, and he is going to one day. Nobody goes without it forever. Even Andre the Giant lost to Hulk Hogan, brother, when he body slammed all 700,000 pounds of Andre the Giant and leg dropped him 40 feet in the air. It was a hell of a moment, but I really hope it does end up being more Kane than Kozlov, because I love Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I do want to say is that they have something special with Braun that even guys like Rusev and Kozlov didn't have. Like the moment Kozlov spoke, people did not take him seriously, like saying double E. They poked fun at him. With Braun Strowman, you don't really see things that you can just laugh at, because the guy looks like a monster and his voice matches his look. So you have the whole complete package to get a really good monster. The problem is that eventually they got to lose. It has to happen. So I think that the only route to avoid becoming a Kozlov is wrestle less. They got to make him a Brock Lesnar type special attraction where he doesn't wrestle every Raw. The moment he wrestles every week on Raw against guys like Sami Zayn, etc., he's going to become a normal part of the roster, and that mystique is going to be gone. Like, have him interfere. Like the thing that he did at the Rumble, at the match with Kevin Owens and all that, that is exactly what he should do. He should be the equalizer. He should be going all over the place, but he should never be like, hey, I want to wrestle you. He's somebody that you're put in your place with. Like, he's the one that always stops people. So when he's in a match, it feels special. Otherwise, you're going to get tea time with Strowman, and Santino's going to make a one-time appearance for
Not only
that.
that, Strowman looked like the smartest guy on the roster this week on Raw, right? So not only does he have a completely logical explanation for interfering at the Royal Rumble, but before his title match, he choke slams Chris Jericho through a table to take him out of the equation from interfering in the match. Like, this dude knows what's up. So I like that, even though he's this big guy, they're not booking him like the stupid giant. They're actually, he's got better strategies than anybody else on the roster.
Strowman equals greatest of all time. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Irish T, who asks, "Hey bros, so my question is, would you like to see Kurt Angle manage American Alpha, since their styles are very similar? If not, what kind of role would you like Angle to be in? Keep up the great work."
I would
for this. Okay, I was gonna say for this, I think it would work better if American Alpha was heel, because it's a little too goody America.
We're kind of getting that. I got a vibe this
baby face. Yeah, if it's a babyface act.
Got a feeling in your jewels.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a natural fit, and it would actually be really cool to see. I would love to see Kurt Angle back in any capacity on WWE TV, and it would definitely make the most sense. So even if it is like the overly babyface thing, I still want to see Kurt Angle, so I think it would be cool.
I love it to be an evolution of the Chad Gable character in NXT. If you remember, the whole thing with Chad Gable was like trying to win over Jason Jordan. So I would like to see Kurt Angle trying to not manage American Alpha, but trying to make them become Kurt Angle. Like reliving the greatest moments. Like putting them in matches and situations that Kurt Angle was at. So like choke slam him off a ledge and break, Chad Gable's leg. Like just relive the entire Kurt Angle career. Aside from that,
so you want the superstar showcase mode in real life?
Exactly, pretty much. I want that to be happening.
You got to beat Brock Lesnar.
Aside from that,
you got to do a lot of things.
Aside from that, we didn't even talk about Kurt Angle not being in the Rumble and all that, and I just don't see him actually being part of any picture right now, unless he shows up magically and this all gets sorted out. I mean, that's a possibility we didn't even contemplate. But aside from that, have him put one of these young and up-and-comers up above a new level, because they could use it.
The concept of Kurt Angle like managing American Alpha is kind of a funny one to me, because you can kind of just go on the network, look at Smackdown circa 2003, 2004, see Team Angle. It's basically how it would go, probably. It'd be very, very similar. Maybe they would learn a thing or two from the way that the original Team Angle went, and it would be good, but pretty close to the same style. But I'm kind of with Juan on this one, where, I don't know, maybe the whole Kurt Angle thing at the Hall of Fame will just be a one-and-done thing. Maybe he'll show up every now and then the same way, like, oh, special guest on Raw this week, instead of Shawn Michaels, we got Kurt Angle because we're in Pittsburgh. And maybe just in a capacity like that, but a week to week, I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to get the Kurt Angle Hall of Fame stuff out of the way. They probably won't do anything with him until after WrestleMania. But he'll be in that same category as like when Bret Hart shows up every now and then, and Shawn Michaels. He's at least part of WWE now, which means he gets to participate in things and he gets to be mentioned again. It's awesome.
Yay. We'll get a hell of a Stone Cold podcast / Legends with JBL one day from it. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from TMK Tanner, who asks, "Who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? Who did it? Who did it?"
It was you, man. Stop trying to hide it.
Me? I would never steal cookies from the cookie jar.
Real talk, peanut butter cookies
Isn't there
are
like
the
a
best.
song to this that we're not doing
Who,
justice?
me, not you, couldn't be, then who? Who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? Was it Ryan?
No.
Can I super kick you?
You can in a couple of months.
Oh, I will. But funny coincidence, I should say. I want to make some peanut butter cookies this weekend. So this question really got that kick started.
I've been thinking about peanut butter chocolate chip cookies for a couple days now.
That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I got some protein powder. I'm going to put that in. I'll send some tweets when I eventually do that. Plus, we're going to need that after
Please
the
do.
Girl Scout cookies, man. Thin Mints, dude.
Oh, Samoas, right, is what they're called.
Samoa Joe is...
Oh, so good. They just choke you out. It's beautiful.
Girl Scout cookies are great. And the real answer to who stole the cookies from the cookie jar is Simon Dean. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Joseph G, who asks, Which superstar from 205 Live would be successful in MMA? Weird question.
Define
Jack
successful.
Gallagher.
That is the answer.
If he can
Jack
use
Gallagher.
an umbrella in the octagon, I will give it to Jack Gallagher. I want to see him Mary Poppins down for the top of the octagon.
So like a foot? Because the cage isn't that tall.
The one thing that I find hilarious,
It's a little taller than a foot,
It's
like
taller than a
7
foot,
feet.
I know.
it's pretty
It's
tall.
not like a dog pen.
I don't know why. I have this image of, TJ Perkins in the octagon, right? He's about to get punched, so he dabs to dodge. And he just gets pummeled.
I'm gonna level up and just gets knocked.
Yeah.
the fuck out.
He dabs, just boom.
Game
knocked out.
over.
I would. He's not the actual answer for best possible MMA career. He's the one that I would love to see there, just so we can see that scenario happen.
He's not the best, but he's the best
Exactly.
possible solution. All right, so thank you for the question. Our final question of this show comes in from lovely patron, Bo Segrist, who asks, Gentlemen, this question is specifically for Ryan.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready, Ryan?
I'm ready.
I am a huge NFL football fan. I'm in Alabama, and we don't have a team, so I pull for the Falcons. I'm assuming the Falcons are in the Super Bowl.
I call them the
This
Falcons,
is me
but
asking.
yes.
That is a weird
Falcons,
accent.
Falcons.
The Falcons. You got to be careful with
He's
how
saying
you
like
say
Millennium
it. Yeah.
Falcon.
Yeah, all right, no, it's Falcon. You're right on this. So I have a little bet for you, back to Bo's question. If the Falcons beat your Patriots, I think the BT Universe / Byte Club, to keep it on branding, would love to hear you sing Nia Jax's I'm Not Like Most Girls theme. You crushed the Tyler Breeze theme, and I believe this
Arguably.
would be your finest performance to date. So how about it? And if your Patriots win, I will give an extra $10 on my Patreon for the month of March. Thank you.
All right, Mr.
Ryan,
Bo
are you gonna take it?
Segrist. So,
Are the Falcons gonna beat your Patriots?
So the upcoming Super Bowl this Sunday is my team, the New England Patriots, versus the Atlanta Falcons. And you know what, Bo? You're on. If that's the bet, confirm with me on Twitter that if the Patriots win, then you may pledge an extra $10 for the month of March.
Hashtag
And
sellout.
if the Falcons win and the Patriots lose, I will sing Nia Jax's theme.
Please
All right?
lose. Please. Samoa
I am
Joe, show up at the
goes-
NFL.
I am
This
confident
goes
in the Patriots.
so well for you every time.
Yep, these bets always backfire, but I can't bet against the Patriots, so I have to take this bet.
Oh, I'm so happy about this. Thank you so much for that, Bo. Now we have two things to look forward to during the weekend, and for the first time ever, I actually care about NFL. But yeah, folks, those are some of the questions. Now, in the past couple of weeks, we have been answering a ton of questions, and although we honestly do love doing that, the problem is that we record this on a Wednesday night, we work the day after, so sometimes it gets a little bit challenging. So one of the things that we are working on, if you go to the Patreon page, that's patreon.com/bytethat, there's a goal where we will launch a Patreon exclusive Q&A video. So basically, if you're a Patreon supporter, we will do a video, which could then also be maybe published in MP3 form for those on the road. And we get to answer your questions in more detail. You know, sometimes we get questions that take up almost like half the show or maybe like a solid 20 minutes, right? Because the talk is good. We sometimes get questions about, hey, how would you guys book this or that? The problem is that if we want to answer like 7 questions, it's really difficult to talk about hypothetical scenarios. Like, look at this episode. You know, we didn't even bring up Sasha Banks getting demolished by Nia Jax and all that because just speculating about things alone can take up an entire episode. So if you guys are interested for supporting us and helping us reach those goals, like we got the $50 one, go to patreon.com/bytethat. But always keep those questions coming on social media. Now I leave you with Mr. McNulty because we do have a lot of awesome themes. Well, there is an awesome theme. You're going to be singing Nia Jax's theme, so there is an awesome theme happening.
I don't be too sure, all right? Go Pats. I don't care. All y'all haters probably rooting for the Falcons. Ain't gonna happen, all right? Go Pats. So thank you guys for listening to another edition of the Byte That podcast. So a few quick things we want to run down to conclude the show. I want to thank everyone who did our BT Rumble giveaway. So we want to congratulate our Patreon winner, TJ Kinder, or Kinder. I never know. I'm going to go with Kinder. It just sounds better. Our Patreon winner, TJ
like
Kinder.
Falcon.
And then our Twitter winner was Roman Cena 98. Congratulations to you guys. And for winning your $10 Amazon gift card. That was really fun to do. We'll definitely be doing something like that again for next year's Rumble. And keep an eye out for other giveaways coming down the pipeline. This weekend, we're going to have a video about WWE Urban Legends. This was a pretty fun one. We just talk about some what ifs in WWE, along with some weird stories that may or may not have happened. So plenty of things to talk
There's
about,
one about
including
Simon
Psycho
D.
Sid. Yes, so there's one about Simon D and one about Psycho Sid and the Squirrel. And Randy Orton, yeah.
Out of
Royal
context.
Rumble,
There's one about Psycho Sid the Squirrel,
just
man.
leave it out of context. That's the best. Yeah, Randy Orton and pooping in a bag. Do we talk about it? You'll have to find out. If you want to leave us a review on iTunes, that really does go a long way. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to give us a thumbs up. Those things really go a long way into helping us get more exposure for this show. So we appreciate everyone supporting that. And as Juan mentioned earlier, patreon.com/bytethat. That is the best way to support us. For as little as $1, you get a raw and uncut video version of the podcast and tons of other cool perks. Our next goal, as Juan mentioned, will when we hit that $100 goal of a Patreon Q&A video that will be up for everybody to see, but we'll answer patron questions, as well as opening that second RSS audio feed where we can add a ton of Byte That extra content for audio
Even
listeners
like your
to listen
reviews,
to.
like every weekend. I mean, for not every weekend.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
some
Pay-per-view
pay-per-views.
reviews. Not every weekend. WWE hasn't gotten that far with the pay-per-views
Man,
yet.
2018.
Yeah, so as always, if you listen on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and whatever other audio device you're listening to, make sure to rate us on that. So thank you guys for listening. Go Patriots, and we will see you next week.